I have someone who is trying to explain what sexually predatory behavior is. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. And this person, Steve F., says, without listening to all of your video, I assume that this is what you are saying. In a clinical context, the term sexual predator is reserved for individuals who engage in a consistent, deliberate pattern of manipulating, deceiving, or coercing others for sexual purposes. This pattern typically involves repeated attempts to exploit trust, authority, or vulnerability to obtain sexual gratification. A single, isolated incident, while potentially unethical or illegal, does not usually meet the clinical threshold for being classified as a sexual predator, as it lacks the sustained behavioral pattern characteristic of predatory conduct. This is very interesting. I've spent many years working with sex offenders, so that's my background for anybody who's new to me. And I want to reply to Steve F. because I thought this comment um, was pretty wild and honestly atrocious. So I want to set one thing straight for Steve or for anybody else who comes on and watches me. You're not going to ever be able to come on and mansplain to me what predatory behavior is. You're just not going to do it. I spent many years working with offenders, so you're not going to come on and tell me what it is, or explain it to me, or try to tell me what the clinical threshold of manipulation, exploitation, and all of that is. So I want to get that clear straight away. I have pretty extensive education, training, and experience in that. So you're just not going to be able to come on and tell me what is or what isn't. The exception would maybe be with an attorney who is educating me on burden of proving something for conviction or something like that. Like if it's a criminal case that I'm working on, and there's a burden of something that I must need to establish. But even then, I mean, that's that sounds like that's way outside of your scope. So that's number one. But number two is, and this is a pro tip for anybody who watches me, and this is straight across the board, and this is never not going to be true. Anytime I have someone that is attempting to split hairs on predatory behavior, someone only raped once, so they're not a rapist, that kind of stuff. Whenever I have someone that's trying to really split hairs and do it down to number of times, here's a pro tip. One, they're either a sexual predator themselves, or two, they have relationships with sexual predators in their lives, brothers, friends, community members, whatever the case may be. In most cases, it's usually both. So that's straight away. So anybody that's trying to split hairs, that's a pro tip for anybody. Whenever you're trying to justify or explain and do things like that. Number three, you really need to listen before commenting on a video. It really angers me when, it really grinds my gears when people respond to something and they're trying to come across as some sort of magical, mythical expert and they didn't even listen. Number four, if you're saying something is illegal and unethical, isn't that predatory? So you don't even make sense in your own justification. Number five, and I'll just entertain and engage the silliness for a second. If a person rapes one time, by your definition, they're not a sexual predator. If a person sexually assaults a child one time, by your definition, they're not a sexual predator. Does that really make any sense to you or to anybody out there listening? Please, please, if that makes perfect sense to you and you can turn around to your daughter or your son, or go to your job, or stand up on the national news and say something to that effect, please enlighten us all. But you can do something one time and be considered a sexual predator. By your logic, people who only attack, who only rape, who only assault a person one time shouldn't go to jail, right? Because their behavior isn't considered predatory, because there's not a clear and consistent pattern. I think when you wrote that out, it sounded good to you, but it sounds bizarre as all get out to me. So please don't ever try to come on to my platform and try to explain what a sexual predator is, or what sexually predatory behavior is or isn't. I think that might be better reserved for the company that you keep. Thanks so much.